We are
Hey
live.
everyone, we are live on Professor Bats and Friends. Hey, it's time to turn off the video, put it on photo. Emotional, damn it! Time to get to the video. Here we go. Man, we got a great show for you today. It is so hot in Arkansas. I have sweated. I've taken 4 showers already today. It's just been absolutely awful. And I'm dreaming of being in sunny California, and I'm living through
Vicariously.
Vicariously. In fact,
Yeah.
you just said a while ago how good the weather was, and you said, I'm going to have to take my hoodie off because the sun's beating down. What is it, like 70 there? I mean, come on.
Well, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I'll just try to rub it in. I don't know.
Oh, man. We are happy to be here this evening. We're glad that you have joined us, and we have got a great show. I have been looking forward to this for a while now, and really very excited. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I'm slobbering all over myself. We have had a great weekend. Tony and I got together at Artemis Overland Hardware in Springfield, Missouri this past weekend for Rigs and Coffee. And Tony walked out of there with a bunch of new stuff. And I mean, it was like the longer we stayed there, the more his wife put out at the counter. It was really awesome.
Yeah, the pile grew. It does every time we go.
It was great. I had a good week too. I put another solar panel on top of my rooftop tent. Now I've got 230 watts going into my secondary battery. I don't think I'm ever going to run out of power. So I'm good. It's been a good week. But let me tell you, I'm glad I got it done before the heat came, because today I was about to die.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go outside until October now.
It's like July and August this year already. It's crazy.
And that's why when people ask, why does everybody in Arkansas, Missouri, Texas, why do they always go out west during the summer? Well, come visit us in July and August and you'll see. It's miserable here. But let me tell you, we have got a great guest. I'm excited about our guest, Daniel Pocius from way out west in California, also known, or better known as 395 Junkie. Thanks for joining us on here, brother. We appreciate you being here.
Pleasure's all mine, guys. It's you picked a good time. There's a whole lot going on in our lives right now, so there'd be no shortage of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm glad we got you.
And after watching that opener of yours, now I need to work on an opener in between everything else that I got going on.
Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. You just wait. We got better stuff coming. Oh, man. Well, we appreciate you being here, really do. And I have followed you, watched your YouTube videos for quite a while now, and love how you get out there and show us all things, get some tips. I've gotten a lot of tips and tricks from you over the years, and I really appreciate it. I've really enjoyed it. And now that I know you've been coming on the show, I've been kind of stalking your Instagram profile, you and your wife's, because like I said before the show, if you want to see and learn about his exploits, adventures, and Jeep and all this other stuff, 395 Junkie, that's the way to go. But his wife is the one who posts about all the antics with the family, and I love that. That's a little bit different side that a lot of people don't see. That's and you don't hide it, you tag her, so you put it out there. But introduce yourself for those of us out there who may not know who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So Daniel, 395 Junkie. The 395 Junkie is kind of memorializes the fact that we have done a lot of camping, a lot of family trips off of Highway 395 out here in California. It's one of the main highways next to the 5 that will run north and south. In fact, it goes all the way up to Canada. But we spent a lot of time as a family on the Highway 395, from fishing and fly fishing, off-road adventures, and just there's a lot to see. So that what used to be a annual trip, a couple times a year, we'd go up there with the kids and my parents and her, my brother-in-laws. We've done, we used to do a bunch of cabins up there and, fish for a week, and we just loved it. And that kind of morphed about 4 years ago when, we had a 39-foot toy hauler that we had at the same time as the Jeep. But it was just as the kids stopped wanting to go with us everywhere that it was just me and my wife. We took the toy hauler out for about 4 days at Glamis Sand Dunes with our side by sides, and we had a good time. It was great. But once Christmas hit, like as soon as we got back from that trip, we'd spent Christmas here, and then just the wife and I, we hopped in Bell and we did another 4 days overlanding way deep. One of the first snow camping videos I did, and we just snow camping, just her and I, in this tiny little Jeep, and we had so much more fun. Just her. I mean, we like hanging out with people. Don't get us wrong, but we love the idea of going way deep in the mountains, having the nice peace and quiet, and bigger's not always better. That's one of the lessons I've learned with overlanding is, there's a lot of lessons I've learned. Buy once, cry once, which I didn't really do that in the beginning, but uh, so about 3.5 years ago is when we started our kind of overlanding adventure. We've always camped, but it was never on the top of a Jeep or, overland. You can define it however you want. Everybody's got their own definition. To me, it's
Yeah.
camping and it's a community. More than anything, it's community. I mean, there's such great people that we've met through the Jeeping, through the off-roading, through one of the best events that I've been to, and maybe I'm a little biased, was my own when we did the veterans event this past Veterans Weekend. Some of the people, all the people that we met, I still talk to, and it's just a good core group of people that we wouldn't otherwise have been able to spend some time with. So now it's just my wife and I. The kids are all grown up, and to continue our overland adventures, no matter where it's at, is something that our future definitely is going to hold. So
Yeah,
That's very cool. That's very cool. Well, you put out some surprising news right at the end of March, 1st of April, that you're going to be relocating to a whole different state, packing up and heading out east.
yes, we are moving over to Idaho, the gem state. And after visiting that state probably, a dozen times or so on hunting and fly fishing trips, we even loaded the girls up and we spent Christmas out there, just the five of us in this hunting lodge. And we had the whole lodge for ourselves. And it was one trip I was on a cougar hunt, but we made a family affair of it. We spent a week there and we absolutely loved it. The girls loved it. We loved it. It was, I think, after that trip that we knew it was a special place, and we knew that once we were in a position financially with the girls, as far as where they're at with their age and their studies and where they're getting to, the opportunity presented itself earlier this year, and I jumped on it. We knew we'd always end up there, but a whole new adventure starting. I mean, got a lot going on in our world right now, and overlanding will always, I promise, we will continue to find time to do that. More so than ever before, even if it's for an overnight, because there is so much to explore out there.
Definitely.
Anybody who watches this that's familiar with North Central Idaho, reach out to me, please. Western Montana. In fact, I've already had a lot of people reach out to me, and I look forward to meeting a lot of them as well. But a lot of new ground to explore.
Oh man, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Well, I'm excited for you. I know that you're excited to start something new and pull up roots and plant them in a different spot. So I know that's pretty cool. But we want to dig a little deeper into your life. We want to get to know you a little better. So we're going to go into a little segment that we have called "Who Are You?"
Who are you? 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 I really want to know.
So this is a time where I will ask you some short questions. You will give me short answers, truthfully and honestly. We don't lie on this show. This is a family show. I've given you the questions beforehand, and maybe you've thought about it for a minute. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you'll give me something off the cuff. But I just want to ask you just a few questions just to get to know you just a little bit better than what we do, because we just met like 30 minutes ago. So here we go. Question number one. What is your biggest fear?
Failure. Always has been.
Great answer.
Always has been.
Failure.
My short answers, you said. I'm long-winded. Go to the next one.
Whatever. We're here for you.
Well, I got a story for
nothing
every
but time.
We'll make an hour. We'll make an hour podcast into 4, real easy.
Oh, that'll be all right. Hey, do you collect anything?
No, I mean a lot of spare Jeep parts, but that's not because I think
who don't that owns a Jeep.
They just seem to collect around the garage, and my biggest fear is throwing stuff away, and I'm going to need that part.
Gosh.
But you can see the challenge that I'm going through right now with relocating Idaho. I got Jeep parts. I got extra Dometic slides. I got fire pits, which I just started a giveaway yesterday. You guys kind of have an insight on that. So I've got parts that I'm just like, I gotta deal with that issue, and hopefully it'll be a nice transition. And maybe I will start a new collection of something that maybe not as room consuming.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's talking about my garage with all the extra Jeep parts.
I wasn't going to say anything, Tony.
Yeah.
You Jeep guys got to stick together and do like a part swap or something like that, because they're always breaking down. I don't know what
I could trade you some control arms for your Dometic fridge slide.
Hey, you never know.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, question number 3. What is the best gift you've ever been given?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is, my wife and my kids. That's a serious answer.
Yeah.
That's from the heart. That's what comes right off the cuff, right? Family's everything. So that to have my wife and my girls was a gift. On a more jokingly and funny thing, I'd say the best gift I ever was given in life was, man. I don't know. I've been given a lot of cool things, over the years, from a young kid all the way up to now. I probably say, maybe it's going to sound a little corny, but Barry Bonds seasoning. We had the opportunity. This is a whole nother segment. I had the opportunity to go camping with Barry Bonds, and this guy is as down to earth as anybody. And he knew I like to cook. He's been watching my videos. He liked the fact that I was cooking. And when we did meet up, he brought me some of his Barry Bonds secret seasoning. And, I use it in every show. My fear is one day I'm going to run out and he's not going to, want to give me anymore. He's going to start charging me for it. But, it was that thought. It was the thought. I'm a pretty sentimental guy. It is the idea that this guy went out of his way. I'm camping with him. I'm not starstruck. He's a really cool dude and down to earth, and the fact that he came out and brought me something that he knows that I would use and it means something to me was really cool is one.
Yeah.
Most recently, I would have to say my buddy that I went to elementary school with was a groomsman in in my only wedding. He ended up giving me.
Be clear on that. Be clear on that. That was a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, of course. He ended up giving me his old 6-weight fly rod, and that means a lot. That thing will get a lot of use, and it was it's kind of a parting gift, and one of those deals where it's not so much the gift that is the act of giving it. Knowing he's caught some real big hogs on that, and he's kind of handed it over to me in a time of need while I'm going up to Idaho. So.
That's cool.
Those 3 things, my long-winded answer.
Awesome. What is your favorite sport?
Football.
I know this. Yeah,
football.
Is
there any other sport?
Well, not real ones that I think, but I have to ask you, because in scrolling through your wife's pictures, I got real excited because I saw y'all at a Cowboys game, all decked out in Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
Cowboys, by the way. And then the further I went, you were in Chiefs attire at a Chiefs game. So
Yes.
you got to explain that to me. I don't get it. I'm kind of hurting the heart a little bit.
No. So my boss, who I say is my boss, he's, closest thing I have to a brother. I've worked for him for the last 21, 22 years. He's about 5 years older than me, but very well off, very smart, incredibly smart. We've worked really hard over the years, and there's some incredible deals to where he's has the opportunity to take me to a Chiefs game, and we went to Super Bowl a couple years ago, and I think it was in Florida at the time. And he's a huge Chiefs fan, and he says, "Well, you should have an AFC team and an
Gotta
NFC
do what
team.
you gotta do.
You got the Cowboy." I'm like, "Cool, Super Bowl, I'm in."
I'm in.
So I had to
I'll
throw a
wear
Chiefs
whatever you
jersey
want me
on,
to
yeah.
wear. I don't care.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
That explains it all.
Where that
That
stemmed
explains
from.
it all. I got to go to my very first Cowboys game this past year.
Yep.
We went to Thanksgiving Day, and that was bucket list right there. I'd never been to one. I'd been to the stadium a few times, but never been to a game. And get to go on Thanksgiving Day was amazing. So even if you're not a Cowboys
We were
fan,
there Thanksgiving.
were you really?
Yeah, that was
I missed you.
there
was only
went
100,000
once in
people
October,
there, so.
and then yeah, right. There were so
Yeah.
many. We had such a good time when we went in October that I told my daughters towards the end of the year we'll usually do a vacation. We said, "Hey, you want to do something tropical? You guys want to go back to Dallas for Thanksgiving?" And I've never been such a proud dad. All my girls, including my wife, they're like, "Dallas game Thanksgiving, let's go." So that we were there, and it wasn't. It wasn't the result we had hoped for, but it was still fun.
Wasn't. But it was a great game, and Raiders fans are really something to behold. So it was really cool. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
Really cool experience. All right, moving on. Do you listen to music when you travel? And if so, what's on your playlist?
Yeah, so it's always country. It's either old school country, or maybe it's like John Pardee or Midland, or so there's a few select that I like that are somewhat current, but I like a lot of the older stuff. And my problem is with when we're recording, and even when we're at camp, I find that I listen to music less and less while we're camping, because if I have something playing in the background, which has happened before, and YouTube picks up on it, they'll tell me to delete that segment out or mute over it, and who wants to do all that? So we're pretty selective on, and don't really listen to a whole lot once I'm at camp. But on the way up there, if we're not recording, it's usually Mama Goose. She runs the stereo, and she's got her own little playlist that we've got similar tastes in music. I finally brought her to the I wouldn't say the dark side, because it's the best side. Starting to listen to country music. So yeah, go Cowboys, Arla. I saw that.
Yeah, that's
Tony's wife. That's our number one fan.
Very cool.
Well, I'm with you on the old school, man. I'll take some George Strait and some Merle Haggard over anybody. It's
Waylon Jennings, you got it, man.
Yeah.
Shoot, yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, thank you for playing our little game. We appreciate you, and we feel like we know you a little better now. So
right on.
Yeah. So anyway, that's behind the scenes stuff right there. You don't get that every day. So
no, you don't.
You just feel privileged if you're out there. But hey, we're going to take just a minute and talk about our sponsor spotlights, Tim.
It's now time for the sponsor spotlight, talking about all the products, services, events, and businesses that we use and love. Here we go.
Today's sponsor spotlight, we're going to highlight one of our favorite sponsors, if not our favorite sponsor. Tembo Test has been with us since the beginning, and actually back in April, Tony and I were able to meet Jerry LeCure, who started Tembo Tusk, and I did a selfie with him there at Art. That was actually in his booth after he actually showed up with no help, and And I was like, Jerry, you got to unload all these scoundrels. They're heavy, and you're old. And I was like, he's like, if y'all want to help, come on. So we were standing there waiting on him, back the truck up. And we got to unload all the scoundrels and stuff, and help him set his booth up there at More Expo, and that was fun. And then we got to go out and have dinner with him, and he actually talked about you while we were there, and I think Aaron said, "Who's some of the best people that you work with?" And he mentioned two of like the most famous people in the world that use
Hmm.
Scottle, you and Marco. And and he said that with a smile on his face while we were drinking old fashions, and we were just having a good time. And
Oh
so
yeah.
that you like to use the products. I know you've got several of them, and so many of your pictures and videos you're using there, and I have done several of mine. I love wearing the apron because it's so cool. And
Yeah.
what? How did the relationship with you and Tembo Test start?
So it was. So I had a Tembo test for probably about a year before I even met Jerry, and he had posted something on Instagram that he was going to be at an event nearby that we were going to actually go to. It was in the desert down here. I think it's Desert, no, not Desert Rendezvous. Boy, Tierra del Sol. I think it was an event. It was in the desert, like an hour away, and he had posted on Instagram asking if there was anybody that'd be interested and volunteer to cook a meal on the Scottle. And I'm like, so now it's a sales pitch. Like now I want that spot. Like right.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
telling him like I'm saying hey I would love to do this blah 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 and he's like okay well tell me a little bit more about yourself and I told him basically I've always loved to cook. I've always been an outdoorsy guy. I'm my fifth wheel and toy hauler was always the trailer that everybody can be gathering around to
Mm.
eat some food and see what Daniel's cooking and make a long story short, we ended up he invited me to go cook at this event that they were attending as a vendor, and that was the first time I met him. And since then, we just we really hit it off. And there's not a lot of products that I push, man, and I'm very careful
Yeah.
to. I mean, you'll see more and more in my videos. I'll start pushing my own products, just for my own selfish reasons, because that's going to be a way of us surviving and they're amazing products. Uh,
Mhm.
but you'll also hear me pushing a lot of Jerry's products because it's I'm very familiar not just with Jerry. I've had the pleasure of meeting his lovely wife. Uh, all his employees, past employees. I've seen his old shop and what he moved into with his new shop, and I know them. His business and the way he handles his business. And here's a guy who like you said, he's driving 13 states east to go to a Nintendo event by
Yeah.
himself. And if you call the phone number to Tembo Tusk on a weekend, he will always pick up. He doesn't have an office number. He doesn't have a secretary. It's Jerry. This is a guy that not just cares about, making and selling a good product. He stands by it. He is very, very creative solutions to a
Hmm.
lot of the issues that we all have. So,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
very hard worker. Just sitting
oh
and
man,
listening to him talk about how he was building all of these in his garage when he first started, and how he said when I got to ordering 250 discs at a time, I knew I needed some help. And
yeah,
he was like, he said, this is where it started. I made one for myself and everybody wanted it. And that's how the whole business started. And it kind of grew from there. So, sitting and listening to him and talk about a mom and pop type business
hmm
and super quality products that you can fit into a small package and you can cook anything on them. I was a somebody who kind of doubted there for a while. I don't know. But once I met somebody who had one and saw how it worked, I thought this thing's amazing. I got to have one.
yeah,
And now it's a permanent fixture in my FJ. And I'm like you. I have a small vehicle. I have an FJ Cruiser, so there's not a lot of room in there. You've got to be very picky and choosy on long trips what you take. But that has a permanent spot. It always goes with me. Just absolutely love it. So, what is
yeah.
your favorite thing to cook on your scuttle?
Uh, Breakfast, lunch,
Oh,
dinner, you name it. I mean, it's just such an incredible piece of camping equipment that as far as functionality, it does a great job, right? But the social aspect behind a Scottle, Jerry said it best once, is that look, the great thing about a scuttle, it's not like a barbecue where you open the lid and always wants to be standing behind where you can't see what's going on there. The scuttle, it's kind of a social gathering spot where if I'm cooking, there's usually 3 or 4 people standing around bullshitting, having a beer, having a good time. And that's what's so great about the scuttle. Now, as far as my favorite meal, I'll tell you, man, I try to mix it up a lot, although you wouldn't believe it because it seems like every other video I'm doing the crispy Brussels sprouts and steak with the the sauce on top. It's just, that's probably my favorite meal just because it's easy. We've been to where we had some incredible, super fancy meals. One of my videos, I used the Dutch oven and made a prime rib, and I wanted to push it. I wanted to push my comfort zone and my limits to see, okay, can you really cook a prime rib in the middle of Death Valley? And we did, and it was incredible. It was a really good recipe.
Wow.
I'll never do it again, right? So with age comes wisdom. Now I'm really about really easy meals, and that's what I like about the steak and crispy Brussels sprouts is you got 2 ingredients and then the sauce that goes on top of it, the balsamic glaze. So you got steak, Brussels sprouts, and the glaze, and you're done. Dishes are done. There's not a whole lot of prep work. But there are some meals where if it's if we're camping for 3 or 4 days in one spot, which rarely happens, but when it does, man, I don't mind dragging everything out to the desert with me or to the mountains, wherever we're camping. And if it takes me 2 hours to prep a meal, I don't mind it. But when you're wheeling all day and you pull up camp, we try to always get to camp before it gets dark, depending on the time of the year. I don't really want to spend 2 hours prepping a meal and cooking. Sometimes I want something pretty quick. So that really determines what I'm going to cook.
Yeah, got to have a little bit of mixture in there. And I've been in positions where it's been hot and I've been driving all day, and everything that I had brought with me, I had to cook. And I actually stopped by a sandwich shop and got a sandwich because I just ain't dragging all that stuff out. It's too hot and I'm too tired. So you got to have a little mixture of stuff in there. That's for sure.
You got to. I got to a point where I was pushing myself on every trip, and it was enjoyable. It was fun, but it got to a point where it was just the more of a fancy meal, the more room you're giving up in that fridge also. And you have a 40 liter Dometic. It runs out of space really quick if you want to have a couple beers in there cold. It takes up a lot of real estate.
Right. Yeah. And when I first started, I used to put all my drinks in the fridge, and they stayed in there the whole time. And I got to figure out the more drinks you have in there, the less food you can have in there. So I always buy the beer that's not always cold, and then I only put a few in there at a time. And that way I can have more food in there. It's a lot more work, but you get to carry a lot more stuff with you.
Well, you gotta have a routine, right? So our routine is we stack the fridge full of enough beers. I won't say how many we put in there for one day, but we'll put enough beers in there for one day and one evening, and then the very next morning, as I'm making coffee, I restock it with beer, right? So I mean, there's no need to keep more than 1 day's worth of beer in there.
So that sounds like a great plan.
That's a plan right there. That's a tip right there for all you guys out there who put all your beer in the fridge the day you leave. Don't do it. You got to leave room for food.
That's
leave room for food. Well, introduce us to your Jeep. Now, your Jeep takes center stage of about 90% of the things that you do. And I want to know about Cybelle, Belle for short. You call her Belle for short. Tell us about your Jeep and how you came to build her up, or what you've done to her.
So before we had Belle, my wife had I think it was a 2012 or 2013. She's gonna kill me for saying this. I think it was it wasn't a sport. It was just below the Rubicon Sahara. I think that was the Sahara brand, which is just below Rubicon. It's not built or nothing. And it was lifted. It was beautiful. And we did a little bit off-roading before we, really took it on camping trips. We just did some local trails around here. And, it's an embarrassment more to me than it is to her. But she kept driving this thing for, I don't know, it was a year or so. And, she's always been really responsible with checking her own oil and changing it. And I never needed to, happy to do it. Just let's be consistent here. And she went about a year or so she went long enough to where she blew the motor up because she wasn't doing an oil change on it or nothing. And that, luckily, I had a buddy that was in the industry, and he got one of the dealerships to warranty it by doing there was some other recall going on with the engine. So it could have had something to do with that. I'm not quite sure, but after we got rid of that Jeep, I'm like, man, we're not ever doing this again. So we bought a brand new 2016 Rubicon. She drove that for about 2 years as her daily back and forth. We put a little 2-inch lift on it, nothing fancy. And we were like, all right, let's get you into something different, because I was getting rid of a car. I'm like, I'll take your Jeep over, because at this point I'm thinking about building it up and putting a bigger lift on it and stuff, and we'll go get you another car. What do you want? She says, I want a Jeep. So I'm like, okay. So she wanted a 2-door Jeep. So she has a 2-door Rubicon that she has. And I took over Bell in 2018-ish. And that's when I kind of stripped it down to nothing and rebuilt it all. You know, the 3.5-inch rock crawler, mid-arm suspension, and the Falcon shot. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And one of the most recent ads you can see there is the Ursa Minor. And the great part about this Jeep, other than the axle sleeves and the re-gearing, pretty much everything else that you could see on it that's cosmetic, I did myself. And that might not be impressive to a lot of folks, but I've never been one that grew up turning wrenches. Probably one of my biggest regrets in life is not learning how to weld and not turning wrenches enough as I was a kid. So Belle and I, you know, I busted some knuckles on her a couple times, and had some really late nights trying to get it ready for a trip the next day. So everything that you see to her, for the most part, I did myself, and I figured it out along the way. And what you got now is it's still pretty much a rock crawler suspension, but I did replace the coils with some Terraflex Outback, which are about a half-inch taller and a lot stiffer. It's built more for, you know, these heavy rigs, which I've got probably one of the heaviest out there, which probably should do something about one day. But
yeah, well, you know, that's the number one question that I get is, how much does that thing weigh? And I say, I don't know, and I don't want to know. You know, it goes, it still drives, it does fine. I ain't no sense of me weighing it, because I don't want to know.
yeah. Not being my daily, it helps to not really care that
definitely.
much. But I got it geared down to 513, so whether it was a lot lighter or it is right now, I'm not sure the gas mileage is going to change much.
Right. Well, I did notice that. Here, I guess in the last year, you switched from the iCamper to the Ursa Minor. What was your reasoning for doing that?
Weight. So I saved about 150 pounds by making that change. But even more than that was when my wife and I go camping, it's generally hit one spot, hit another spot, hit another spot. So it's wake up in the morning. It's a rare camping trip that we stay at the same place for more than one day, unless we're with the girls and, you know, they're bringing all their stuff and they just want to chill. We'll chill. But if it's just her and I, we go a lot of places that we'll stay for one night only and go to the next. And although the iCamper was pretty fast, it is nowhere near in speed as far as compared to the Ursa. It folds down in 15 seconds with the latches done, folds up in 5. We keep all of our sleeping gear up there, which is always a struggle, right? It takes you a while, depending on your rooftop tent and what gear you're bringing, to figure out what's really going to work without forcing it too bad. And the Ursa Minor, we got it set up to where, you know, we can leave most of our stuff up there, and in inclement weather, it's very easy to open it and close it from the inside if we had to. But we really like the idea of her being upstairs getting ready in the evening, and I could chill downstairs. You know, I say downstairs on the goose gear platform. But it's enough room that if it's raining really bad outside or if it's really windy, she's got her little area, I got mine, and we can get ready without, you know, kicking each other in the head. So it was a good upgrade, and it was not cheap. But it was an investment in what we knew would probably be a rig that we were going to have for a very long time.
Well, I tell you, when it comes to convenience and speed of setup, sometimes it's really worth it. You know, you pay astronomical prices for everything these days, but if you do this enough, you know that ease of setup, speed of put up and take down is worth the money. So I can see what you're saying there, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, and saving that 100 pounds, 150 pounds doesn't sound like much, but that's all top heavyweight, right? So that's all weight that's at the highest point of the vehicle. So when we're doing any sort of rock crawling, which we don't do a whole lot of rock crawling with her, but we'll get after it depending on where we're going. So I mean, if with all that weight that high, if you're swaying back and forth, man, it's you feel like you're on a cruise ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Oh, well, you describe Belle as a junkie crackhead walking the streets looking for her next fix. I love that. That's on your website. That's www.395junkie.com. So what changes are you wanting to make to her in the near future?
So when I typed out that kind of description of her was probably about 2 years ago. And since then, man, she's been off the junk. I'll tell you, I'm pretty proud of her. There's not a whole lot more junk going on. I mean, I'll tell you, people say that you'll never be done with your rig.
Yeah.
I think I'm done with her. I really am. I mean, unless something breaks, I wouldn't mind replacing the bumpers, replace them. I got steel bumpers. I wouldn't mind replacing them. But that's some low hanging fruit to save a couple £100, I think. But that's really the only thing that I could think of off the top of my head that I would do to it. Other than that, it's I mean, I got everything. Look at that picture. I mean, everything is like a Jenga. It's like Tetris. Everything has its spot, which took a really long time. But I'll tell you, once you find a spot for everything in your rig, and if you can remember it, it makes your life so much easier because it keeps it from sliding around and moving and shifting. Everything's got its spot, and that's why I don't see a whole lot more future. Maybe some new tires here in the next year or so, but I'll probably still go with the KM3s. I am real happy with those BFGs. I'll tell you, it's a really good tire.
Same here. We've got them on both our rigs and on our trailer. They're just love them.
Tony's got bigger tires on his trailer than I got on my FJ. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to park next to him.
They're just 35s.
But you said something, and we always want to be educational with the show because, people don't just watch us for entertainment; they watch us for our brains. And but we want people to see, you're all the time changing things up. Well, if you're all the time changing things up, then you don't know where everything is, and you're always having to guess or figure out where you put it or what that. But if you leave everything the same, like you said, where everything is, that speeds up the process, and you become more happy with everything. So I'm with you. I've done some slight things. I just got new bumpers, which that was the best thing ever when I got actually a swing out bumper and got all the weight off my back door. But, pretty much everything in the rear where I stay has remained the same over the past few years. I know where everything is, and it's so nice. I absolutely love it. So if you're constantly changing everything up, you're having to guess, you're having to figure out. Of course, you'll move things around a little bit every now and then, but if you know where most of the major stuff is, for the most part, it'll make your life so much happier. I promise.
And quicker. You'll be in and out of camp a lot quicker. Your meals will be cooked faster because you know where everything's at. It's being repetitive and a lot of things in life will save you a lot of trouble and time in the long run.
Exactly.
Once you figured it out, like don't keep doing the wrong thing over and over again.
Yeah,
that'll do any good for you.
Yeah, don't go out there and just hate life every time. If you hate life, change it up. But if you love it, leave it the way it is. I mean, that's the way it is.
Oh yeah,
Tony's all the time changing up.
I've gone as far as taking a picture of the back. Once you have it set up.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Tony freaks me out every time he comes back from a trip because he'll unload everything out of his vehicle and then he'll put it all back in. Then he'll unload it after the next trip, put it all back in. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying I don't do that either.
Well, part of my problem and part of what drives that is I can't fit in the garage with the tent on and the roof rack loaded. Yeah. And so I have to take that stuff off anyway.
How many people, raise your hand out there in internet land, have a Jeep with 37s and can fit in the garage?
There's quite a few.
It ain't easy.
You got to buy a house with high doors.
It's not easy.
It ain't easy. I air down the tires down to 0 PSI, 1 PSI.
I love it.
If I make it a little easier, I probably get under there with some ratchet straps and pull down on the frame. But yeah, my deal is I can't leave it outside. It's the black paint. I keep it nice. People always ask, well, how do you keep it so shiny? Well, you wax it a couple times a year, like you're supposed to. A lot of times the wax the dust will blow right off of it. But I'll park some of my other cars outside so that she could sit in there and just sit on the trickle charger. So
yeah, I'm the same way. I like to keep it nice. I work from home, So I don't like for it to just sit in the driveway and stuff. I like to bring it in when I'm not using it or don't have a trip planned for a while. So
yeah, well,
Yeah.
well, I love it. I love it. I love it how you got everything the way you want it now. I love it when people say that because you know that is not an easy process. That is a painstaking year after year process of fine tuning something that you absolutely love. And I can't tell you how many hours I've spent in my driveway just staring at it and looking at it and thinking, I gotta make this fit somewhere, or I've got to move this somewhere because it's not working where it's at. And once you get it there, it's like enlightenment. I mean, it's a crazy feeling of satisfaction, and once you get there, it's just amazing.
See, I'm in the middle of that. I've got a new bed rack, and I'm waiting on a new tent to come in, and I feel like I can't really, dial it in until the tent comes in. I can figure out how I'm going to attach stuff to the rack, and it's just
Tony waits till a month before we leave and orders a tent, and now he's praying that it gets here before we leave.
Wrong. It was not a month.
He's going to be in a hammock. He's going to be in a hammock when we're out in Wyoming, and we're going to have to keep the bears off of him with sticks. I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Sticks, huh? That's all we're gonna need.
No, we're having prayer circles for the iCampers to come in before we leave on our trip. But anyway, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about a few other things, but we're going to take a short break here and remind ourselves what we're doing. You're watching BROfessor and Friends.
Hi, this is Jerry from Tembo Test. This is Aaron with Artemis Overland Hardware.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Kara from Ozark Overland Adventures.
I'm Adam with Oki Overland.
I'm Tate with Overland Spices.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Drew with the Rock Squash Designs. Here with the Rock Squash.
This is Jeff. Bad Actor Disney Cup.
Hi, I'm Julie, the Overlander next door.
And I'm Phil from Down to Mob.
And you're watching.
And you're watching.
And you're watching.
BROfessor. Bats. Bats.
Bat, crazy.
BROfessor. Bats and Friends.
Professor, Bats and Friends.
BROfessor, Bats and Friends.
The BROfessor Bats and Friends.
Professor, Bats and Friends.
Sponsored by Artemis Overland Hardware in Springfield, Missouri. More Expo, Tackform Mounts, Trail Rated Coffee, Linson Solar, Howling Moon Tents and Awnings, Big Iron Overland Rally, June 10th through the 12th in West Mineral, Kansas, Mountain Hatch, Lifesaver Water Filters, MC Ranch Overland, Snowmaster Fridges, EcoFlow, Tembo Tusk, Dow Dynamics Lighting, and our good friends at Midland Radio. Thank you for joining our show. No pros, just bros on this show. Thank you for being here. Here we go.
I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors.
like that.
We appreciate you being here. Yeah, I love the video part that changes
It's fun.
it up. It gives us time to get a little drink. And my throat gets dry sometimes from talking so much. So, now I've been to California twice in my life. Both of them to places that I never want to go back to, LA. And so I've never been off-roading in California. Tell us some of your favorite places that you've been out there.
The obvious answer is anywhere off the 395, but specifically the areas in between, like June Lake Loop and Bridgeport, that stretch of highway. You're probably going to not be familiar with it, but if you're local here in California, there's a lot off to the east and west of that 395 that people don't even know about. There are a lot of trails to explore. I mean, we still find new trails. Just a couple weeks ago when we went camping up in the Bristlecone forest, that's an area we've never been before. But a lot of the wheeling's the same. It's not a whole lot of rock crawling. At times it's nothing more than a fire road. But in other times you do have some washouts depending on the time of the year you're going before they could bring a blade in there and, do some corrections to the road. But anywhere off the 395 in like Tiobe National Forest and that vicinity, above Bishop, California, there's a ton of areas up there that not just the Coyote Flats, which you see a lot of videos on, but in other areas above Bishop, You got a lot of trails. You got a lot of natural creeks that you can, find a nice little campsite and camp next to it. And my biggest complaint about California has and always will be the constant burn ban that they have out here. I mean, right now we're
'cause of
not in one,
wildfires. Yeah.
but because of wildfire and or
Mhm.
some would argue it's lack of management, but we'll
Yeah.
save that for another conversation. I
Yeah.
mean, there's states all over this great nation that have just as much, if not more, forestry than us that somehow manage, to properly allow for campfires. So, but with Jerry's new fire pit, and hate to sound like an ad, but it's true. Whether it's Jerry's or anybody's, these propane fire pits have really allowed us as overlanders, campers, whatever you want to call it, to be able to go out there and camp and be able to have the luxuries that you would otherwise not normally be able to have because of the burn bans.
Right.
But the area of off-roading that we're doing up here, guys, it's our favorite is the mountains, the higher elevations where you got a lot of
Yeah.
pine trees, you got some lakes, you got some creeks, you got there's some areas where you have some forks of some of the main rivers where you can do some fly fishing. That's perfect. You find me a campsite where you can overland for a day or two. That's somewhere next to a body of water, some sort of tributary where I can go fly fishing, during the middle of the day or in the afternoon. Man,
That's
you
heaven.
can't beat that. That is
That's
heaven,
heaven.
which is
You betcha.
yeah.
That's
So
exactly what we look for. Same thing, higher elevations, body water, little bit of wheeling, beautiful views. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all
yeah,
about.
yeah, and there's a lot to say about the desert too. I mean, we've done plenty of trips in Death
Yeah.
Valley and Mojave Road. There's a lot of cool desert spots too, which have its own beauty. But for me, my money's worth. Get me a higher elevation and some pine trees.
Now, do you feel as if, and I know you've been out there a lot, but do you feel as if that you're going to get the same, um, I don't know the word that I'm asking here, but the same feel for your YouTube videos in Idaho as you do in California now? How do you plan to continue that?
Uh, I mean, keep camping, right? It's always
Well,
ever been
yeah,
about
yeah,
camping. It's always been about camping, hanging out with my wife, cooking, and that part's not going to change. And I've had a lot of people ask me, "Well, are you going to change your name?" No, man, 395 Junkie till I die.
yeah,
That name's going to stick with me forever. But what you're going to find is a lot of the same content. It's going to be
yeah,
cooking, it's going to be camping, it's going to be a lot of new areas that I've never been to. And here in California, I've never been too concerned about the black bears in this area. They're few, they're far between. In some areas, that there are a number of them, but there's not much in the wild that scares me. At least here in California, and even up in Idaho. I mean, I'm more afraid of L.A. I'm more afraid of the
yeah,
two-legged animals than I am the four-legged. But
yeah,
up there, that is bear country. That's wolf country. That's going to be get our bear box and some bear spray, and it'll be a little different. You'll have to pay a little more attention. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited to find out what kind of trails they have out there. I've been,
mm,
a couple of folks have reached out to me already that are from Missoula, Montana, which is just a couple hours away from me, and the local area that where I'm moving that are very welcoming, and they can't wait to show me some of the areas. And probably my biggest hobby that I love is the fly fishing. So
yeah,
that is gonna, every campsite, if I do it right, will have good fly fishing.
yeah.
So
Shoot, yeah. Well, I'm guessing that most of the land up in Idaho is public land. I know Montana, Wyoming have huge tracts of public land. Idaho has a pretty vast amount of public land, does it not?
yeah, man, I want to say it's the number one or
Yeah,
definitely
I
within
thought
the
so.
top three of public land that its residents where anybody can enjoy for that matter. So there's no
That's
shortage
paradise.
of it. You're going to have, one of the problems, at least in, some of the higher country stuff is accessibility, right? I mean, the
Right.
topography is such that there's not even fire roads cut in. So
Yeah.
a lot of that's unusable. Unless you're, going to go on an elk hunt and you don't mind, backpacking in, which, we'll probably do a little bit of that here and there. So there's other creative ways that we'll be out there camping other than just with
Mm.
Bell. But if for the most part, there's, I mean, how much easier is it then to pop open the Ursa Minor, get your Scottle out,
Yeah.
and take a cold beer out of the fridge that's in your Jeep. I mean, pretty nice.
Yeah, that's when you make it easy on yourself, it's a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell that. So tell us what's on your bucket list of trips?
Well, right now, I'll tell you, we knocked off a big bucket list this past December when we did Utah. I had no idea what Utah has to offer. So I'd say probably getting back there, doing some more exploring there, but especially where we're located at now, being so close to Canada. I wouldn't mind exploring, Canada a little bit, or even throwing Bell on our trailer and I wouldn't mind going to Alaska. Alaska's a different animal though, right? So it's not something that you could just hop in the car and go. It takes I don't know, a year of planning if you're going to do it right. And you probably don't want to go by yourself. So you're probably going to want to try to figure at least one other person to go with. And we're guilty of going out by ourselves quite often. Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, deal. So I'd say getting back to Utah and exploring Alaska would be probably a bucket list thing. At some point, I gotta imagine the next 2-3 years we're gonna have our hands full, building our property in Idaho. But I promise one thing, that that is never gonna get in between our overlanding. I'm so excited to get up there that if, as long as they're not in the midst of doing, drilling our well, a lot of the work I'll be doing myself on the property, so we can come and go as we want. But we will get out a couple times a month at the very minimum, just to get away and go do some fly fishing and some camping.
Cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
That's so awesome.
Well, changing gears just a little bit, we have several people out there that watch the show who are really wanting to get into being a content creator, YouTube creator, and you have done a very good job at being successful in that. What advice would you give to somebody out there who wants to explore? Maybe they're out there overlanding, they're camping, they're doing whatever, and they want to put some content out there. Do you have any advice that you would give to those people?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is because I find it enjoyable. Anytime something starts seeming like work, I lose interest pretty quick. The YouTube part, why I like it so much is I said it before, it gives me a second opportunity to enjoy the editing process, which is, I mean, I could probably put a video out. I'm just not real smart, right? So it takes me probably 5 times as long as everybody else to put together. It'll take me 8 hours of editing for 10 minutes of video. So every video that's 30 minutes, that's probably more like 15 hours of editing. So about 5 hours of editing for every 10 minutes. Because I'm just, I'm sure I know there's plenty of room for improvement, but I constantly want to grow, and it's got to look good. It's got to sound good. The beat's got to be right. I'll color grade it. You don't need to do all that. I enjoy doing that. But that's my point, right? You gotta be able to enjoy it. If it starts seeming like work to somebody who wants to start creating some content, they're gonna lose interest. Your priority should always be to go out with the idea of wanting to have a good time. Everything after that is gravy, right? So if you can go out there and have a good time, because there's times where I'm shooting a video where I don't want to stop the Jeep. I don't want to take the drone apart and get it all set up. And, it takes a lot of work. But, there's times where it's super windy or cold outside, and Mama Goose, she don't want to get up and walk up the trail and shoot it. But we know that's what the video needs. It needs different perspectives. So you gotta, your creative juices got to flow a little bit. It will slow your trip down, especially if you're going with a group of folks. Make sure you're going with some patient people. Because if you have to stop every 10 minutes to pick up a camera, drop a camera off, I got to imagine that there's some folks that just want to get to camp. So we've never had that problem. We've always gone with really good people that enjoy the process. But stick with it. You look at some of my first videos. I felt so awkward talking into the camera. I felt so awkward trying to do the voiceover at the house that I'm trying to do it in the office, and my 3 daughters and my wife are in the other room, and I finish it, and they start laughing and busted up. And I get all self-conscious, and I'm just like, stop laughing at me.
Oh
But
my gosh.
yeah, we get
That's
a little,
funny.
it's
Such
a little
great
more
support.
comfortable.
Support
Yeah,
team.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Beat up on dad. But
Oh,
like
man,
anything, man,
that's
stick
funny.
with it. Find what you enjoy and stick with it. It's fun because it's not just it's not just content for all you guys. The main reason, the purpose was to document our trips.
Yeah.
My wife's always been one to take a ton of pictures, and I've always taken a little bit of video here and there. I mean, some of my videos I had to take off of YouTube from my older stuff, but I did a lot of spearfishing. I did a lot of pig hunts, where YouTube these days you can't really show any of that stuff. But I've always been one to video what I'm doing for myself, right, and for my family. So as long as you're doing it for the right reasons and you enjoy doing it, and being consistent, that's what any successful content creator, I think, needs. I'll let you know once I figure it out. I'm still learning every day, every video.
Yeah. Well, I would give a little bit of advice to those out there who are listening. Don't let your content creation take away from your experience, because if you lose interest in the experience, you're just going to fade away anyway.
Yeah.
Don't let it hinder that experience, because you go out for the love of the outdoors.
Yes.
Do the other because either you love it or it just gives you something to do. But don't let it hinder that experience.
Yeah,
because
that's a great point.
That's what we're out there for. Now, you put together an event. You talked about it a little earlier, and you called it the Overlanding for Warriors. Tell us about this event that you did. I'm really impressed with this.
So it was one of our first kind of group events. People have asked for a couple of years now, like, you ever going to do a group event? We would love to do a group event, and it's easier said than done. It's a lot of putting the pieces together, and what I ended up having to do, I had to get a lot of permission from the state and from one of the national parks, and it all worked out. But the point was, okay, let's do an event, and it just happened to land on Veterans Weekend, and we're about 5 weeks out from the event. I'm like, wait a minute, this is Veterans Weekend. Like, our servicemen and women, it means a lot to my family and I. We've never served ourselves. I've had family that served. We jumped into raising a family really quick. I'd say one of my biggest regrets in life is not serving. We start a whole other conversation with that. But the next best thing that I was able to do was put together this event where, we didn't know how successful it was going to be, but I think we allowed up to like 40 vehicles, because the state and the national park wouldn't allow me to have more than 50 rigs. So I figure we'll put 40 tickets out there, but let's use this to our benefit and raise some money for, Wounded Warrior Project. And so I told everybody, like, hey, we're going to throw this on Eventbrite. And, if it takes a couple days to sell out, great. But everybody who gets one of the 50 tickets, you're going to be asked to donate, I forget what it was, 25 or $50 to Wounded Warriors immediately. And that kind of certifies your ticket to get into the event. And sure as shit, within 3 minutes of that event going on sale, we were sold out. And we raised, almost $3,000, I believe, for Wounded Warrior event. And I had folks that were reaching out to me that weren't even able to make the event, still making donations. And, I got some letters from some folks that were veterans that weren't able to make it. But one, a guy who's a professional softball player for, the U.S. team for veterans. And, he's got both legs were amputated from IED. And he sent me his softball card and a nice little letter. And that meant a lot to me, man. That meant more than any money that I raised. I know the money went to a good cause as well, but to be able to touch and get these guys' reaction and the kind words that they put in the letter to me, it was really cool, man. It was a cool event. So we got at the end of the day, it was probably close to 100 people, 45 rigs it ended up being, because a couple of folks weren't able to make it. and we ran Mojave Trail for 2 days, 2 nights, 3 days, and it went off without a hitch, man. It took a lot of planning, but I'm not complaining. I loved it. I can't wait to do another one, and ideally we'll be doing another one this Veterans Weekend. I just don't know what that's going to look like, where it's going to be. Most likely it's going to be Pacific Northwest somewhere, Idaho area. The biggest challenge that I have, so anybody out there that has an insight, is finding a location that will accommodate and allow for a big group. That's one thing that I can't say about the California. When I was getting these permits, they maybe jumped through hoops, but it wasn't impossible. I got it done within 3 or 4 weeks. So Idaho, Washington, Oregon, or even Northern California, I would love to do another one of these events. The key is to find a location with, somebody who has some insight on the jurisdiction to get the permission. That won't be a big deal. I mean, I can always bootleg it, but I try not to do that, because next thing you know, you have this great event, you raise a bunch of money, and people are getting kicked out of their campsite on night one. That's probably not a good way of doing it. So
yeah, for sure. Well, I just saw that. I've seen the pictures of it, and saw and I've got the picture that I guess you took of when y'all were there, the rig surrounded and all the people out there. That's just amazing photo where you're at, and
that was a fun trip.
Yeah, it was just amazing for me, and I thought that was so cool that you did that. I just wanted to highlight that, and also bring up the fact that you possibly are going to have another one. So,
yes. Yep.
I think that's amazing. Well, man, you're such an interesting guy. There's so much to talk about. Now you have started your own jerky line.
Yes. Yep. 395 jerky. So, a buddy of mine. So first of all, let's back up about 3-4 months ago, or hell, let's back up 30 years ago. As a child, jerky has always been one of my favorite snacks, right? I mean, who doesn't like jerky? You could eat it. I've had it for dinner before. I mean, as a young kid growing up, I've had jerky and a soda and call it dinner. But I've always been a big fan of jerky. And about 3 months ago, I told my girls, I said, hey, what do you think about this? And I sent them the 395 junkie logo, but I replaced the N with the R, and it's 395 jerky. And it's craft beef jerky that the plant is up in Redding. In fact, Tish and I were up there about a month and a half ago, and going through the whole process, picking out the flavors that we wanted to have, and we saw every step of the way, and we were able to select which specific flavors we think that our viewers are going to like the best, and my favorite's the best. And we came up with the honey pepper, the thick and sweet, the thick and zesty. And this craft beef jerky is amazing. It's no preservatives. It's tasty as all get go. I mean, you can literally eat it for dinner. If you guys forget your meal camping, grab one of these 10-ounce bags and just munch it. I'm known to eat one of these 10-ounce bags within a couple hours. I just hammer it. But it's a way that Tish and I are going to be able to support, what direction we're taking our lives, right? So after 21 years as a real estate developer, working for a real estate developer, my last day is Thursday in 2 days. My wife, being a 10-year teacher, she's leaving, and we're taking a chance. We're moving to Idaho. Our work is going to be what we can produce. I mean, sure, I did recently pass my real estate broker license up there. So, that's going to put a few bucks in our pocket. But ideally, we're going to you eat what you kill, an old boss said. Yeah. So we have, we're fortunate to not have a whole lot of debt. So we're going to be able to survive on very minimal. But the beef jerky is going to be one way to help us survive, while in turn giving my viewers and anybody else that wants to buy some of an amazing snack. Like I said, it could be dinner, it could be good food on the road. And I won't push anything that I don't like as far as products, like Tembo Test. I got no problem pushing their products because I stand behind every one of them. I use every one of them. I love it. Same with my jerky. If I don't like the way a batch turned out or the flavor, I won't put it out, because as people, as men in this world, you're only as good as your word and what you produce and the promises you make, right? So that's the long answer about our jerky. It's amazing craft beef jerky. It's priced competitively for the beef jerky market, and I'd invite anybody who sees this video to give it a try. And I promise, if you're a fan of jerky, you're gonna love this stuff.
Awesome. That's so cool. Man, you got a lot going on.
Right.
I mean,
I'm telling
we
you,
can
man.
sit here for days.
I tell you, yeah. There's
we can sit here for days, but you got to move. So
Yeah, you
we
should see
can't
the
do
inside of
that.
the house. It's complete tore up, man. It's a hot mess right now. We got stuff everywhere.
Oh my
So-
goodness! Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. How what a treat this has been to just sit down and just visit with you. You know, we can sit down and watch your videos all day, but just to get to visit with you one-on-one, and it feels like we've been doing that 2-on-1, whatever. It's such a treat for us, and I can't tell you thank you enough.
Yeah.
Well, the pleasure's all mine, guys. It's I remember seeing your message come across my Instagram, and I figured, I've never done a podcast at all. But there's something about you guys really down to earth, and your interest aligned with mine, which is strictly overlanded. You've got no other agenda. This is just about getting to know each other and talk overlanding and gear. And man, I could do this for hours. Like you said, I find this whole conversation, the fact that, we haven't even talked about your whole trip that you're about to go on for a month. Who goes on an overlanding trip for a month? I would love to do that.
That guy right there.
There's a
I'm
lot
going
to
part of
discuss.
it,
So.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Yep.
It's coming, and I can't wait. It's like you getting ready to load up the U-Haul and get the heck out of Dodge. The next 3 weeks can't get out fast enough,
Right.
because I have done so much planning and work on everything to get everything ready. I've even got all my food packed. I mean, I am ready. So it's one of those deals where I'm just chomping at the bits trying to go, but getting to visit with somebody that I've watched on YouTube for a while now, that's a treat for me, and it's a treat for Tony and everybody out there.
Guys.
And tell everybody all your social media, your websites, where they can find you, so they'll know where to find you at.
Sure. 395 Junkie got a website where you can get some of our jerky. I sell Tembo Test gear, so if you want the fire pit or the scuttle. It supports me. It also supports Jerry at the same time. You can find me on Instagram, the 395 Junkie, Facebook 395 Junkie, and then the other channel that we are just starting, which I think is going to be wildly popular, is seeing our new build up in Idaho. We bought 15 acres of vacant land. We're going to document the home build, the drill in the well, the build in the shop, the apartment in the shop. I mean, that is you, me, and the fence post. And you can look that up on Instagram and on YouTube. And that channel, I think, is going to make 395 Junkie look like amateur hour, which I'm excited for my wife. That's my wife's channel. I'm teaching her how to do all the editing and everything. And she's a lot more patient than I am, so I'm sure it's gonna be wildly successful.
Well, I can tell from all the pictures and all the fun that y'all have that she is a beautiful soul, and you're lucky to have her. So
she's the same, man.
You guys will have to come back on the show this fall when you get settled in and give us an update.
Absolutely, anytime, guys. It'd be my pleasure. This was fun.
I love it.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time, and we had a good time too. And I appreciate everybody joining us. We've had people off and on, and I know that you've gotten something out of it. We got new people that follow you, I'm sure. They got to know you a little better, and I hope y'all got a little something out of it. But on behalf of Tony, myself, and Daniel from 395 Junkie, we appreciate you being here. We actually want you to get out there and live the best life that you possibly can have. Hope that you have a great week. And as always, look out for number 1. And don't step in number 2. Have a good night. Join us next week.
Same bad time, same bad channel. Boom.
BROfessor and friends. 2022.
Woo-woo. Thank you for watching.
BROfessor, Bats and Friends.
BROfessor, Bats and Friends.
BROfessor Bats and Friends. Ka-chow.